Hello again. One of the things which I've noticed time and again when seeing photographs of so-called asylum seekers coming ashore in Kent is that these almost invariably seem to show a baby or small child being tenderly carried or cared for by a police officer or soldier. This is, I suppose, understandable because it's human interest stuff, and sad-looking children always play better than tough-looking young men. I don't think it's a sinister attempt at propaganda. It's more what the public like to see on the news and in their paper at the breakfast table. The thumbnail to this video shows just such a heartwarming picture of a police officer leading a little child ashore. Ah. The reality is, though, that the great majority of those forcing their way into this country are male and aged between 18 and 40. 87% of those who cross the English Channel in this way are male, and 70% of these immigrants are aged between 18 and 40. These are not helpless old people or small children in the main, but rather healthy and active young men. These men are not fleeing from war at all, but looking for opportunities which they do not have in their own countries. They are, in short, what are sometimes described as economic migrants. Their very gender and age, though, presents a problem, and it is this. Most of these men grew up in societies where violence was the norm and women were not afforded equality. They experienced childhood in countries in Africa and the Middle East, where premature death was not an unusual event, and rape something one did if it was possible to get away with it. Their education is likely to have been meagre, and their religion often tends towards the extreme fundamentalist type rather than the milk and water brand that we prefer in this country. It really isn't hard to see what is going to happen if you import 50 or 60,000 such men every year and dump them in quiet British villages and towns, which is now the official government policy to avoid having them all crowd into London and South East England. At the very least, these people will have no idea about conventions like not dropping your cigarette ends all over the place or being sure to put your rubbish in a bin. Areas with a high concentration of immigrants who have arrived by, shall we say, unconventional routes are often untidy and dirty, because the newcomers don't have the same standards of behaviour as those who have grown up in this country. They're apt to stare at girls and sometimes assault them. Sweden and Finland have very serious problems with this kind of thing, and their relaxed approach to nudity and so on have had to be abandoned since they allowed widespread immigration. Then too, there's violence and drugs, both more common in some foreign communities than in the country as a whole. What is happening is that a problem is being needlessly imported, one which is getting worse every day. Rwanda really isn't a credible threat, and the need is for deportations at once, rather than vague talk of what might happen next month or next year. Nothing less will solve this increasingly serious problem, and it really wouldn't be hard to get to grips with it if there was the political will. As usual, I give a link to the figures which I've given in this video in the description to this video.